Right now, I do have David Coleman on here with me, though. Hey, Dave, you there?
Yeah, what's going on, Mike? How you doing tonight?
Oh, doing just fine. But man, what a crazy week, though. Not sure where I should begin, though. But I did text you some pictures over of this crash site. Anyway, I was in the area though when this happened. Though, if I would have been there probably 5 minutes earlier on the scene, I probably would have witnessed actual impact. And I'm, in a way, glad I didn't see that part. You know, it probably would have made me not even do the video though. But when I got there, before I got there, I did hear an emergency call go out though. Emergency to the dispatcher though. They had collided with a vehicle on the tracks at Cohen Road in Vermilion, Ohio. The train driver, or either the driver or the conductor, more likely the conductor, because the train driver probably had his hands full of stopping that train. So I imagine it was the conductor that stated these words. And he stated these words to the dispatcher that the vehicle proceeded to cross the crossing and stopped and had backed up in front of the oncoming train. As a result, though, the knuckle of the front of the locomotive had a direct impact on the driver's door, therefore pushing the vehicle almost a half a mile to what they call CP 222, which is a control point where a switch would be. So when I arrived on the scene, though, I walked up the tracks along the train and looked down there. I could see the vehicle in front of the train almost a half a mile away. I zoomed in on the camera and I could actually see it. So then I thought, well, I'm going to take that half-mile walk across this guy's cornfield. And it was good exercise, by the way. So got up to the scene and got a better shot, though, which you had seen a picture of. Then toward the end of the video, though, when I posted that up, though, I did get a picture of the result of the car on the back of the flatbed. So it's unfortunate, though. Even Erie County Sheriff stated in his report, though, on the Sandusky Register, stating, though, it was ruled as an attempted suicide. Well, it ain't attempted. It was kind of successful. But anyway, my prayers go out to the loved ones. The gentleman's name is Darren Hubbard of Vermilion, Ohio. The address is here and everything, but I will not announce that over the air, just to respect the privacy of the loved ones. A week later, when I was in the area, again, though, a white vehicle from Michigan, from Battle Creek, Michigan, came up. I know this because the lady of the vehicle, though, got out and was asking questions. She was inquiring which crossing on Cohen Road had this accident had happened last Thursday. Not this past Thursday, the week before Thursday, though. And I gave her little details, and she told me that she's the relative of the deceased driver. So her name is Diana. She came all the way from Battle Creek, Michigan to attend the funeral of Darren Hubbard. So may God rest his soul. Darren's wife is also named Diane, so my blessings and everything. I'm getting a little speechless here because it's kind of saddening to me. So all our prayers, though, go out from me and all of us here from the Great Liberty Net Radio. So, and by the way, Diana is listening to us tonight, so may God rest his soul. And I hope everything proceeds forward, though, to the future, though. But our prayers are with you for the family of Darren Hubbard. I'd like to also mention, though, in my videos, I failed one thing. One of my subscribers clued it in on me, though. I can't put hardly into words how the train driver and the conductor felt when they hit that vehicle on the crossing, and what they saw, and it was terrifying when the vehicle apparently had backed up. So I gotta give them credit for that, though. It wouldn't be a bit surprised to me, though, that they probably had to take time off work, though, because of that incident. My thumbs up to you gentlemen, though, on train 22X, so that this had unfortunately happened. So I had to give you guys credit, though. I can imagine how you guys actually felt. It's very saddening that this had happened. The whole time of the video, when I was posting it, though, I was unsure what had actually, if the driver actually survived or not, though. They did have a Metro Life Flight chopper in the area, and it landed right across from the tracks in Farmers Field, though, that almost, I believe, was on the same one, but it was on the other side of the tracks from the Cleveland Division line, though. This occurred on the crossing on the Chicago-Philadelphia line, so very sad, everything. And I don't usually go up to a police officer that was at the crossing at the time, but I did ask him if the driver survived, and he said no, he did not. So that was getting toward the end of my video of that session, and I did my outro as I usually do at the crossings, though, and the officer was looking at me, though, and he was smiling, and he was admiring what I was saying and pointing out things, though, at the crossing, though, and I think he really admired what I was doing. You know, it goes to show not all cops are corrupt and evil-minded and everything, but this gentleman, though, he was polite, courteous. He's an example of a good police officer. He really is. He didn't bully me or anything, though. He knew, you know, when I asked him, though, and he knew what I was doing, though, he knew I was putting in great efforts, though, to inform the people that railroad tracks are serious business. It's dangerous. You see the tracks, think train always. That's on Operation Lifesaver, Amtrak number 203, which I did video that, though. You see tracks, think of a train. And always remember this, sometimes these crossings do malfunction time to time. Please, please, always look and listen and observe your surroundings, because you never know when these trains will come up on you. They come up on you very quickly. So always, always beware, because your life absolutely depends on it. Once again, all our prayers here from me and from the Great Liberty Net, and also all the rail fanners, so it does documentaries on these trains. Our prayers go out to the family of Darren Hubbard of Vermilion, Ohio. May God rest his soul. Okay, furthermore, when I was looking up information, though, I did find out that on the top searches, though, it was Google. There was other top searches, though. When I did the interview with Big Daddy Cork, though, when there was a little section I cut out special and posted on my regular YouTube channel, NARBI Radio, and I got number 3 top rated on the area news articles and stuff, so that was absolutely flabbergasted. The actual video came in number 4, so I got 3-4 spot. Sandusky Register was number 1, the Elyria Chronicle Telegram was number 2, and I got number 3. Wow. And I believe I did mention that, well, of course, it was titled Liberty Net Radio Channel, which we're actually on right now, so right now I am videoing live, so tonight's video will be posted up sometime, maybe tomorrow evening, sometime. Depends how I feel all night long, but anyway, That's about all there is to it. So, Dave, it is your turn. What do you have for us tonight? What would you like to add? Anything tonight?
Yeah, so thanks for having me back on, Mike. Obviously my sentiments are with the family and the engineer and the conductor in that terrible tragedy there in Vermilion. There was something similar that happened a couple days ago near Philly on the Northeast Corridor where a father and two sons were killed by an Amtrak train. It's been all over the news, and it's been more publicized than what happened in Vermilion. So, your point about the railroad is a really good one, because a lot of people look at these railroads and they say, how busy can the tracks really be? We use it as a shortcut. We'll go around the gates, things like that. You have to be safe at all times when you're around the railroad. And, especially on these class ones or a line like the Northeast Corridor, where trains run at high speeds, trains run at all times of the day and night. You just can't fool around the old railroad. I mean, and it's just, to me, it's a terrible tragedy. And no doubt you feel terrible for the employees of these companies, whether it's a passenger railroad or freight railroad, whatever it is. They're just trying to do their job, and this is something that could be very traumatic to them, could have a massive effect on their lives, and it's something they can't control. There's no doubt that you obviously feel terrible for the family of the victim, but at the same time, the railroaders in this situation really take a real tough psychological beating from this. And there's supposedly, I did some research on what happened in Philly, and people were commenting on train orders, and a lot of people said that typically engineers and conductors get three to 4 days off typically after this happens. So they're given some time off, and it's a very, very tough thing to deal with, because the psychological effects of this could be very long-lasting.
Okay, so I guess I kind of almost hit it on the head that they're going to have to take time off from that incident. Any incident, though. Yeah, okay, very good. Appreciate that.
Yep. Yeah, and that was, I'll give a credit to a couple different railroaders. One of the guys on there is a CSX dispatcher. I won't mention his name on train orders, but he always has a really good insight into different things with the railroad, and he gave the perfect breakdown of what happens when this occurs out on the railroad. So our thoughts and prayers and our condolences are with anyone affected with these tragedies, whether it was on the Northeast Corridor with the Amtrak tragedy or what happened in Vermilion with Norfolk Southern on train 22X. So no doubt we're all thinking of those people who were involved in that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So once again, it's a sad thing when this does happen, though. I know, it really is. So, okay, you have anything else for me for tonight, though?
Yeah. So we got some more information, a lot of news that came out in the last few weeks. I'll start off with kind of a big one with Amtrak. The CEO resigned back on March 20th or so. He stepped down, and a lot of people, I guess he had worked for Amtrak for over 15 years. It sounds like it's got a lot to do with the White House. There's a lot of controversy with that. And it just sounds like Amtrak, is going to be going through some changes. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see what changes happen with Amtrak. Do all these new routes that they want, do they actually get, approved, and do they start happening? Or is Amtrak kind of like going to really go down the tubes here? So it'll be interesting what happens, Mike, because I feel like Amtrak for a long time has been just treading water. And I think they don't. Probably part of the problem is, Mike, is they don't own their own tracks besides the Northeast Corridor. They don't. They have to run on these freight railroads. And I think this train that you've seen a few times, and I know I've seen it a few times, the train that runs between Chicago and Florida. I think it used to be like the Capital Limited. Then it goes down south into Florida. That train seems like it's so late, and I don't know how people would ever want to travel when the train is always delayed and off schedule, and it just seems like such a hassle to travel that way.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to reply a little bit, though. But a lot of people do ride the Amtrak, though. Some nights I've been over there in Sandusky Station. Quite a bit of people do are waiting there to get on and getting off, though, aboard and onboard. And so I think maybe Amtrak is kind of like holding their head above the water, though, just stable, and that's probably it, though. I think if Amtrak could get more routings, though, we did talk about possibility routing from Cleveland down through, we call that the Greenwich division line, though, CSX.
Yeah.
So then they were talking about continuing on through the Mount Victory line down past Creston, though, and into Columbus that way.
Okay.
We were talking about that once, so but you ever hear anything about that proposal, or is it just something they thought of and it just went off like a fart in the wind or something, a thing, one of those deals.
Yeah, that's a good one. We need to laugh about some after that first segment, man.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way of looking at it. And, you would think, Mike, too, that, like, with CSX not running that many trains down on that line through Crestline, and then obviously that line that gets off the Mount Victory sub and goes down into Columbus that parallels the NS right into Columbus, like from Delaware, Ohio, down into Columbus, that I think they call it the Columbus subdivision.
Yeah, there is. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That'd be a perfect line for Amtrak to run in on in Columbus, because CSX doesn't really use that line very much, from what I know. So I don't know why they wouldn't try to do that. If they ran a train from like Cleveland down to Columbus and into Cincinnati, and they ran it through Dayton, that would be a good idea. But yeah, it seems like there's never been. And every time they start talking about it, Mike, it seems like it never gets anywhere. And I know that I've seen news stuff on that, and it just seems like it's kind of like it just never really materializes into anything. So it's no doubt that's a disappointing thing that they don't do that, because they should.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was going to mention, though, that there is a Columbus subdivision, and I believe it terminates in Galion, Ohio, because there's a branch off, though. One way heads over toward Marion and actually ends up going near Cincinnati down that way, I believe, though. Mm-hmm. Then the other line goes directly to Columbus, so both branches are being used.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know, when I'm around there, I do see a couple, I see some intermodals and I see some manifests go through there. Sometimes you might get 5 of them down through there. We did have one today when I was in Greenwich with Parker, CSX Ohio Railfan Plus, with his channel. This was a crazy day. We started Crested, Ohio, and it was like bust. We got, I think we got a total of 3 trains. First was Wheeling Lake Erie, and 2 CSXs came through there. Then it got dead for an hour, and I thought, you know what? I was looking in the Heritage unit, and I noticed that we are one CSX 12, or not 12, but 4720 was up there in Cleveland. It was heading right down through Greenwich, so we made a beeline over there, and we did catch that sucker. I sent you a picture of that.
Yeah, it was really nice, man. It looked like Conrail. Catch. That was, yeah, I like seeing that a lot. That was cool to see, man. That was, it kind of reminded me of years ago with Conrail with the blue and everything. That was.
It had pretty darn similar, the same coloring, but I believe the lettering was more like a yellowish gold or something. maybe some white tin in there, but it did truly resemble a Conrail unit, absolutely. Anyway.
Yeah, that was awesome. Great thing to see. We'll stay with the positive news here, man. This is down south. The Port of Savannah handled over almost 480,000 20-foot equivalent units of containers in February. So they're really doing well with this shipping down there. I guess the intermodal team set a new record for rail moves completed in a 24-hour period with over 2,200 rail lifts on February 28th. I guess the Savannah Mason's Mega Rail Terminal handles about 42 trains a week. The dwell time is somewhere about an industry-leading 19 to 24 hours. The container field was very fluid. The yard and gate teams coordinated trucks moving, and I guess the last week of February, Mike, they handled over 78,000 containers. So I know this is probably more of a CSX area, but I think Norfolk Southern goes in there as well. But big round of applause for this port, growing business like this. I think a lot of the shipping down there, Mike, goes into the Caribbean Sea. And this is probably taking some pressure off of an area like Jacksonville and some of the port, Florida, where they're really, they're getting a lot of business and stuff. And, with the way the world is, Mike, and everything right now, we just got to knock on wood that stuff like this continues to happen because there's so many things going on with our economy now with tariffs and everything. So let's just hope that this is a sign of something good with a port like this, and credit to all the people who work in Savannah at this port.
Absolutely, yeah. You hit the nail right on the head on that one. So, oh wow. So what else do you have for me tonight?
Yeah. So a lot of stuff going on right now. Big thing that I saw. Another thing that was kind of interesting was down in Louisiana, Union Pacific. We've talked a lot about Union Pacific and how they've kind of chased away business and the precision scheduling and all that. They are investing the Hyundai Steel is investing $5.8 billion into a new manufacturing plant down in Louisiana to boost automobile production in the U.S. So I guess it's going to be located with access to a Union Pacific main line, according to a government official.
Okay.
This was announced, Mike, back end of March, like around March 26th or so. So what they're trying to do is trying to attract and secure the Hyundai Motor Group in Louisiana to say that, hey, we're going to be able to develop, more jobs down there. They're going to, speaking of ports, they're going to partner with the Port of South Louisiana to build a deep water dock to accommodate steel and material shipments, according to some of the government officials in Louisiana. So I guess, Mike, this is what they're saying. The facility is expected to import 3.6 million tons of iron ore annually. So completed coils will be shipped out via rail and truck to customers, namely Hyundai vehicle manufacturing plants throughout the U.S. This is a big deal, Mike. I think this is important stuff. Obviously, this is a big part of cars, and this is a big part of our economy. And, Union Pacific, look, I'll be the first one to say it, man. I've taken plenty of shots at Jim Vena and the people who work for UP. But, hey, you know what? They're getting some new business, and credit to them, in an area where, you probably didn't think we would see business grow in a state like Louisiana. Cool to see. Very, very important for the railroad.
Absolutely. Not alone, all the I-beams and steel that I seen today being shipped today, too. These are like humongous I-beams. I don't know if it's for bridge infrastructure or what it is. Not alone, that really, really thick plate steel was being shipped today, too, through Greenwich today. So, wow, lots of iron going through. Not alone, lots of welded rails being laid on the Cleveland Division line. They're going to get ready to put new rails in. Probably starting starting from, the Coleman Road area in Vermilion all the way down to Bellevue. So
I have heard about that, Mike, on train orders. That guy trains 1275. I don't know if he's listening tonight or not, but he's a great poster on train orders, and he commented on that recently as well. So that's a great story to see for that line to get the upgrade with the welded rail there. I love hearing that.
Absolutely. So, yeah, they're going to get ready to put all new rail in down through there. Didn't look like the old rail was in too bad a shape, but I guess maybe it's been there a long time. In fact, I failed to look at the date it was manufactured on that line, so maybe it's outdated. They got to replace it so many years. I guess I'll probably replace it after we had that broken rail. It's in the Coleman Road area, though, where they had to run that train over the broken part, though, where it was cracked in two real slowly at walking speed. So maybe they thought, well, maybe we better start replacing the rail down there, because after time, the heat and the cold, when we had this winter, it takes a toll, and you get a big flat spot on the car with a lot of weight, something's going to give. And that rail definitely gave. Yep. I did post a video on that episode, too, and took a shot down there about where the problem had occurred. But the train did go through successfully at a walking speed without any incident, in spite of a broken rail. And they can do that very carefully.
I remember that.
Very carefully.
I remember that. Yep, I remember that video. That was a really informative video. I think it was a train 38N that you videotaped there?
I would have to review it. Might have been 38 in. In fact, that sucker came through there again yesterday in the same area, so came right on through there again. How about that? Now you mentioned it probably was 38 in. So
yeah, it comes after working at Bellevue, comes east there to get on the Chicago line to go east to Conway.
Yep. Absolutely. So, anyway, I've been out here about 30 minutes. We can go on a little bit longer, though. It's only once a month we're here. So, you have anything else you'd like to add in tonight?
Sure do. Yeah. So, we'll go to New England for this next story about the MBTA, the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority. I guess they started service down to Fall River in New Bedford for the first time in over 65 years. So, to mark the occasion, Mike, the MBTA will be offering fare-free service through, this is at the end of March. So I guess they're going to be running down like that way, and I guess they've completed construction of 6 new stations and tested over 800 positive train control safety functions to start this service. So it's going to be easier for people to commute, less congestion, and the economy and the housing development will grow in that area. And it just sounds like, we all know Boston is a very big area. It's a big city, and it's hard to get around there when you're driving. So to take a train somewhere, I think makes a ton of sense, Mike. So, good on the MBTA for doing this. They have a lot of different lines around Boston that go different directions and different routes, and I give them credit for doing something that, hey, they saw that, there's probably a ton of people, traveling on I-95 and different highways around there. They said, let's try this, and they put the infrastructure in for it, and they're pulling it off. I love it.
Absolutely. Oh, sounds great, man. Interesting. Great news articles that you're bringing up and news. I really appreciate it, because I don't know if I could handle all that at one time, but you're doing great, Dave. Thumbs up to you, man. Really.
I appreciate it. Yeah, no, I go on a couple different websites, and there's some really good stuff, like obviously train orders I reference a lot. And then, I there's people I talk to, throughout the time, between the time we're on the air, and then Progressive Railroading is a good website, and then even Trains Magazine and that Railfin and Railroad, they have good articles. But there's a lot of stuff that comes out, and, some of it's fact and some of it's opinion and some of it's BS and stuff. So, you have to be, you kind of have to know, like, you got to sift through the right stuff. So there's a lot of interesting things out there. But, yeah, I think the cool thing is, like, there's another article about, like, ports. This one was near Charleston. They're talking about how that grew quite a bit. And they're talking, I guess they upgraded the yard there. Norfolk Southern serves this yard. They call it the Inland Port Greer. And they're saying they're going to increase cargo capacity by 50% and 9,000 feet of additional rail to handle longer trains and a bigger chassis lot for the trucks. So I think it's good, Mike, that, I think some of these places are adapting to the times we're in with the railroads where, like, you're seeing how long these trains are. You do a lot of rail fanning, I do a lot of rail fanning, and these trains are just so long now that these railroads and these companies that are affiliated with them are like saying, hey, that's precision railroading stuff is probably not going away. We're going to see these monster trains run for a long time, so we got to adapt to this. And it's good to see these areas where it wasn't like the railroading wasn't the biggest deal, like Savannah and Charleston, where it's more of a tourist area. You're seeing the real infrastructure and the heavy industry kind of go back into those towns.
Wow, that's really something, man. Excellent there. So okay, about 34:28. I think there was probably a little bit of lapse time, though, when Steve was talking earlier, so we got a little bit more we can go. So anything else you'd like to cover?
Yeah, I guess I'll kind of go into like a little bit of a rail fanning story. I saw this on Train Orders, and I don't know if this guy listens to the show or not. His username on Train Orders is Brandon RC, and I guess he did a rail fan trip out to Kingman, Arizona, and this is on the very busy BNSF Selman subdivision. And so a lot of the trains, Mike, on this line go from the West Coast to Chicago. So they go like through, these, kind of through these desert areas, and then they go out to Kansas City, and then like Fort Madison, Iowa, and then they go up into Chicago. And, this guy was talking about how he was out rail fanning in the Mojave Desert, and he was talking to like taking a lot of different photos of all these trains, and he was just saying that, it's like basically when you go out there, you're kind of in the middle of nowhere with these trains, and it's amazing. Like you can see for miles, because it's a double track line, you can see like how far these trains, they look like they're close to you, and they're maybe 15 or 20 miles away. So
wow. It's
so different than rail fanning, like, on the East Coast or in the Midwest, like where we rail fan on CSX and Norfolk Southern. So it, like a lot he was talking about the towns and stuff and the roads you had to take to get back to the tracks. Mm-hmm. You needed four-wheel drive. And he was just saying that it's incredible, like how, like, this area, there's so many trains that run through there, and it really is incredible that, these little towns along the railroad, there isn't much there, but, you're seeing these trains that are shipping stuff that's really, really vital to our economy. So, a main line like this, Mike, it's like a few years ago, a lot of people always used to say to me, like some of the, better known rail fans around the country would always say that the Union Pacific line into North Platte, Nebraska was the busiest line. But I think this BNSF line, Mike, like the one, when I watched that rail cam in Fort Madison, Iowa, or La Plata, Missouri, or even this line out in Arizona, Mike, I think this is the busiest line in the country right now, because it just seems like there's an abundance of intermodal traffic with UPS and AB Hunt and all those intermodal trains. And then I just think, to me, like, BNSF has done a really good job of, like, they've got a better infrastructure between, the West Coast and Chicago than UP does. And I think they've got a little simpler route. And I think, to me, they've invested. They like saw that when the BN and Santa Fe merged, they were like, hell, like this is a great opportunity for us to make this line into, like, the premier line in railroading. So it's cool to see that people identify this, and a lot of people who've gone out there to rail fan said, it's kind of different rail fanning in the desert, but at the same time, you're seeing like how a railroad really should be run, like on a busy route.
Wow, that's fascinating. It really is. And who was the gentleman's name that you mentioned beforehand here? Who was that person that you mentioned though on what was it, train orders or something?
Yeah. So there's a couple different people I was mentioned. So the one guy in Vermilion is his name is Trains 1275 on train orders.
I'm aware of him though. It was something that you mentioned. He was the guy in near Arizona someplace.
Brandon RC is his name on train orders.
Brandon RC. Okay. I haven't heard of him before though, but maybe I
never
would.
did either.
Interesting.
Yeah, so he had a really good post. I don't know where he's from. Like he's got to be a Western guy or a West Coast guy. But like I said, I mean, he put a lot of thought into this post, and I'm curious to see if he's got a YouTube page like you. And there's a lot of people out there too that have good YouTube pages that post a lot of neat stuff out there. Different people. Like there's a couple guys. There's a guy that I think he works for a railroad out near Chicago, but he does a lot of posting like around Northwest Indiana. That I've watched his YouTube stuff a lot. Like I can't think of his name. I'd have to think of his name. If I think of it, I'll text you. But
okay, very good.
Some of these people, Mike, they just have some fascinating content, and they get around to some really good spots, and they go down to. They're not afraid to travel either. It's a little, I think some nights, Mike, going down to Wheatsdale or something seems like a long trip, but man, these people really aren't afraid to travel and put some mileage on their car to go see some trains.
Wow, very, very interesting. Okay, we'll probably need to wrap it up. It's been going on quite a bit here. So, is there any last quickie thing though? By the way, I am going to take a ride on the Cuyahoga Valley on May 2nd. So with Parker, CSX Ohio Railfan Plus. So he informed me, and I said, "Yeah, let's go for a train ride." So we're gonna do a documentary of the Cuyahoga Valley Railways coming up here too. So.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Then when they get the steam, we'll be going by way of steam. That's the main reason why I'm taking the ride. Then when I hear the word of Nelsonville, Ohio, which Hocking Valley Railway, they're going to be running their steamer too. So I'm going to return to Nelsonville this year and see if we get some footage of that steamer too. So. I don't have any steam trains in my collection yet. Well, this year I'm going to get at least 2.
That would be neat. Yeah, that would be really neat. Well, that would be awesome, man.
Okay, any last thing here?
No, looking forward to that. And, okay, I got the guy's name. Chad Malinowski is the guy's name from
Chad Malinowski,
YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, so he has a really good YouTube page. I don't know if he's listening tonight or not, but shout out to him. And I've talked to him a few times on YouTube, and super informative guy, knows like all the insight into the railroad and knows all the train symbols and everything. So shout out to him. And thanks again for having me on, man. And like some tough, challenging things to talk about at first, but a lot of positive things too going on in the world of railroading.
Absolutely. Okay, Dave. Well, looks to me our next date is going to be on May. I had it up here. Wrong icon, dummy. We're going to be back on May 3rd.
Okay. Perfect, man. That sounds good.
All right, very good. So thanks a lot, Dave. I appreciate you being on here with me. Really do. So, all right.
Got it, Mike.
All right, thanks for being with me.
Have a good night, man.
You take care. Okay, that was David Coleman from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, filling me on the news that's going on with the railroad infrastructure. That'll probably about conclude it for this session, though, for tonight. But once again, our prayers and thoughts go out to the family of Darren Huber of Vermilion, Ohio. May God rest his soul.